All right. Our next order of business is a special event in road closure. The Michigan City Main Street Association is requesting the following: to host Shelf Ice Brewfest on Saturday, February 22nd, 2025, to close 5th Street from Pine Street to East Michigan Boulevard, Spring Street from 5th Street to 6th Street, and Cedar Street from 5th Street to 6th Street, beginning on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025 at 8 a.m. to Tuesday, February 25th, 2025 at 12 p.m. Please tell us your name and give us the rundown.
Justin Post. I'm the president of the Michigan City Main Street Association and have been the chair of this event for, I believe, the past 8 years, if we don't count that 1 year. So the request is for now for 5th Street, Cedar and Spring. You just read. I would like to just read, this is from our board from the Michigan City Main Street Association. Thank you very much for the opportunity to address the concerns raised regarding Shelf Ice Brewfest. We deeply value the role of the board in improving and managing events that shape the vitality of our community. As a volunteer-run organization, we take great pride in hosting an event that has become a hallmark of Michigan City's winter season. So that's the request that we're making, and I know there were concerns, and I'd be happy to answer any questions and tell you where we're at with the planning.
Justin, I have a question.
Yes.
The length of closure.
Yes.
Does it have to be a full week? I mean, that's a long time to keep I get that it's not maybe a main road, but it is a road. And that's really one of my concerns this time, is just like keeping it closed for so long. What's the reason? Is there a thought behind that?
The reasoning was, per our conversation, yours and my conversation, Skylar, since that wasn't a very high traffic road, I kind of just made a big ask
Okay.
so that we had enough time and everything would be, we'd be able to accomplish everything. What I do need is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for tent setup. Cleanup can be done much more quickly, but if they set up two tents a day, since we don't know the weather in advance, that's what they've been doing. They set up we have the 40 by 40 heated tents that we use for art vendors and music. Those were set up on the redevelopment commission lots in previous years, so no street closure had to be done for those. But now that we have everything on the street, they would do 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday to be ready for Saturday. And then they would be tearing down Saturday evening and have everything torn down. The construction of the tents is really complicated in cold temperatures. We do this event outside. It makes it far more expensive and difficult than it has to be, but it's because we're trying to celebrate the Michigan City winter and it's been a pain.
So you were saying that you would have the tents down Saturday.
They package them all up, whether they can actually truck all the materials back. But then what we've done in the past when we did it on Franklin Street was put the materials in parking spaces, or we had the use of the RDC lots. So I think that we would take up parking spaces with those concrete Jersey barrier blocks that they use to anchor the tents down.
Okay.
And then all the structural materials and the canvases would be put on their truck and taken back on Saturday evening, unless something goes wrong. That's
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily need the whole closure. You just it was an arbitrary.
Not necessarily arbitrary. I was going to give A's is the company that does the tent rentals. I was going to give them as much time as I could. So if we wanted to amend that, that's fine. I would still ask that we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for them to set up the tents. We could make it actually, if we scheduled the tent construction properly, we don't have to have the street closed, because the 10 by 20 or the 20 by 40 tents just take up parking spaces. They don't actually take up a lane of that road, since it's such a wide road and it has angled parking there.
Okay.
I'll say that was
I'll open up for board.
That was my question. How are you
Good
planning on setting up? You just highlighted what streets you want to close, but like, where are you planning on setting up? Where are you planning on having? Yeah, is there a site plan?
I have a preliminary site plan. It's going to take us hours of work after that with our engineer, Ryan Laughlin, who's the secretary of our board. He's always done that plan. I have a very rudimentary layout compared to what we usually use. And I can,
Yes, please.
so as you can see here, the waiting area, that's fenced, but not actually covered. So that's not an object that's in the way of emergency vehicles or any traffic, actually. And like I said, I haven't discussed this with the entire group. That Franklin Street layout was 10 years of work to get everything just right, exactly 1 foot here, 1 foot there. So this is the first time on this site we'd be doing it. Everything would be, as you see, in the roads. There's plenty of clearance for emergency vehicles to go all the way through the event in this layout. What we do at Pine Street and East Michigan Boulevard, there would be openings in the fence with giving us the ability to open that quickly and let emergency vehicles in, which has actually happened once when on Pine Street on the old layout. And it was very easy for us to open that up. The ambulance came in and came right back out. This is a wider street, so it's easier for them to get emergency vehicles through.
Justin, what are the red things?
The food vendors,
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just labeling things.
And since you brought up that this is your first year in this site plan,
Mhm.
why are you waiting until right now to come in front of the board? This is 30 days before the event.
That's right. We have been doing this event for a long time, so we have all the requisite skills and abilities to do the event if we get approval here tonight. While we knew that there were talks with vendors last year after the event, we were not informed by anyone directly about not being able to do it on Franklin. So when I made a request for the December 11th meeting of the Board of Works, that was knowing that I might get feedback from this board. No, we want you to do it somewhere else. We had multiple meetings as a board, including with our council liaison, Greg Coulter. And we decided as a group that we were going to still ask for Franklin Street. Because it's where we've done it for 10 years and we thought that that's where we should keep doing it. So as I was informed after that request that we were not allowed to do it on Franklin Street and we wouldn't be able to ask for that. We tried again and the holidays got in the way and I couldn't get the insurance certificate for that one. It took 2 weeks to get this insurance certificate too. Yeah. So that's where we're at this point. That doesn't mean that planning hasn't already been going on. The layout is just one of many different features of the event that we have to get going. So we have vendors, we have rentals lined up, we have things all waiting for us to get this approval so that we can move really quick this month.
Mr. Tisdale, are you?
Well, I just appreciate the change of locations personally.
Miss Smith, you had a question?
What about an EMA plan? Is there an emergency management plan? We got the layout. Have you spoke to fire marshal?
I have messaged to the fire marshal. I did talk to him months ago about this. Now, he comes out the day of. We talk a lot before then. I have a long list of things that I need to comply with for the event, including because we do use open fire. So I need that burn permit. Last year, I handed him a check the day of and he gave me the permit. He went through with the Homeland Security.
I was gonna say Homeland Security comes out too. They
Yeah.
check for like extinguishers and tents, etc.
Yeah, they're out there at about 8 a.m. and make sure that we have everything in order for opening the gates at 12.
And that doesn't happen till day of.
Yeah, the inspection happens.
Yeah.
That's because that's when.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's when everything's finally all set up. And then emergency management plan, we've always gone with 3 police officers and EMA volunteers there the night before and the day of. The emergency management plan, Basically, they look this over and they say we can get an emergency vehicle in, and that's all I've ever had to do previously, besides the fire marshal going through and making sure everything's lined up.
Have you spoken to all of our city departments to see how closing Fifth Street would impact them?
No, and I wasn't aware that I should have done that before I went before this board.
I mean, this is really where we suggested that they do it. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that.
Yeah, I just,
rather than
I
done
understand
time. Yeah.
that, but with 30 days before the event,
Yeah.
we don't have time to really ask questions, refer this to other departments, get their impact and feedback, which is frustrating because it will make us look like the bad guys if we have any questions.
I have in previous years, about a month in advance is as quickly as I get a response from the department heads.
I know these are side streets. Captain Jesse, do you have any comments on the closure of the streets?
Long is the concern. Obviously, I don't know as far as the street department of plowing.
Hold on real quick. Why don't you wait until you get to the microphone? It'll make it easier. Thanks.
With the plowing, I'm not too sure on that one. The week long is possibly a concern. I know that there's no residences or anything in that block, but the Fifth Street and then also another block of what Pine and Spring, I think, was on the request. I don't know all those. I mean, if that's going to be any issues, I mean, we've driven around some, road construction and stuff like that as far as the police department, but as far as the plowing routes and all that stuff, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
But again, shutting it down for a week right off the boulevard might cause some issues, and just trying to think of it as far as how it's blocked, as far as to make sure cars don't either drive through that or hit whatever barricades would be my concern, and the length of the
Closure.
week. Yeah.
Thank you for your comments.
You got it down.
Miss Officer Jesse, maybe just stay right here just in case. Miss Smith, you had some comments
Well,
or
I mean,
questions?
previous, you said 10 years you guys have had this now. So
Should be the 10th event.
how long has setup taken previously?
It gets more complicated every year because we try to do extra things every year because we know how to do this. So last year we added a new 40 by 40 tent on the south RDC lot there at Franklin and 7th. So they set up those two tents on Wednesday, then the two 7th Street tents on Thursday, then the Franklin Street tents on Friday. So setup, that's not the complete setup, but the tents take the longest time. It's the most expensive, most labor intensive part of it.
Okay, so what about cleanup, trash, stuff like that?
Yeah, I would-
toilet, I mean, I think, I've never been to shelf ice.
yeah.
So I can't say, but feedback that I've gotten before, or that I know I've heard from the businesses downtown, was the time it took for it to be cleaned up after the fact, and the different stuff that was left around for days. So for me, when I hear that it's a 1-day event for roughly 5 hours, 12 to 5 is what your paperwork says, and that you need a week to set up, plus a couple of days afterwards or whatever to find, that's where everything else sounds great to me, but my conflict is, I think our special events department put on bigger events with less setup time or with less need. And so I'm just trying to figure out why it would take 3 days to set up tents. I mean, I feel like Thursday might even make sense to Monday, but Tuesday, Wednesdays just seems a bit excessive, especially for the entire street to be closed down. So what about trash? And is this on your form? You have that this is a festival, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so there's like a $100 a day fee for a festival. Have you guys paid fees before?
We are a nonprofit.
You're nonprofit, but you want to close the street down for a week for a party. Okay,
Yes.
that was it.
But I don't think your last question about refuse was
No,
addressed.
It wasn't. Yes, so we have a new refuse plan. Last year, so here's the thing. So we're not aware of this ahead of time, but last year more of our vendors from the breweries brought package beverages because it's so cold that their jockey boxes, the faucets, they run out of kegs, were freezing the previous year. So we weren't aware that we'd have that much refuse. There really shouldn't be much refuse at all. Before in the past, it was only from the food trucks, just the little paper containers that you get a hot dog in. So we had a lot more, but we did have a plan with refuse to pick that up. But of course, they weren't going to have anybody pick it up on Sunday. So Saturday night, it was there. We placed it on the street where they told us to place it, and it wasn't picked up until Monday. And I realized that that's not ideal. There was no place that I could personally put it that weekend. This year, though, we have talked about it, and we will be getting a roll-off container from the same company that we're renting the portable toilets from. So we'll have all the trash in a dumpster. It will be out of the way. There won't be any cleanup after that Sunday. We'll have everything in there.
I like that.
And then if I could just address also the week street closing. So our previous requests have always been Thursday so that they could set up the 7th Street. So that's when 7th Street is closed from Franklin to Washington and Franklin to Pine. That was just Thursday. And then Friday was Franklin from 8 a.m. until the next day when the event ends, about an hour after that. But 6, we open the street back up. So there was never a closure for a week. Since this road is rarely used, and per my conversation with Skylar, I thought that I could ask for a week and nobody would care. But we don't need it. If you guys want to make an amendment, we can change that. I really would like to do Wednesday, and then we could open it back up at noon on Monday, so we can make sure that our rental companies and everybody has time on Monday morning to come in and remove everything. On Saturday night, after the event, it is highly likely that everything will be towards the parking spots, everything will be clear, the fence will be removed, and the street will be open again on Saturday night. So we can do that however you would like.
You said that you really needed the Wednesday though. Was
I
that
don't really like it. If you tell me no, then we'll have to make do. If that means that I have to pay more for the tent company for overtime and stuff, then I do. We do this event for the city. It's all volunteer. Just to bring in people. 35 to 40% of our customers are from outside of LaPorte County. Brings in a lot of beer tourism people.
Any other questions of Justin?
Yes. What tents did you say are set up on that first day, the Wednesday?
It can be since this is on one road, we've always done on the RDC grassy lots, so we don't have to close the road for that day.
Mhm.
Now, this can be, if you look at the layout, we can set this up so that we do the beverage tents first, and then the street can remain open, and both lanes of traffic can be open. We're just taking out parking spaces
That
on
was-
5th Street.
That was my thought. If we maybe close parking spaces on Wednesday so they can set
But the
tents up.
road would have to
perhaps.
be, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The road would have to be closed for setup because they have their people in the street and forklifts.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the only thing.
Yeah, this one's a little bit different where we had the option to be on the RDC lots to set up. So you got half the tents set up without even having to close lots. It's a little bit different here. Yeah.
To me, from a safety component, I think it would make sense just to keep it closed.
Yeah. Just trying to find a compromise here.
Yeah, you don't want mingling forklifts and people with cars passing through. That would not be good. So, and large. No, these are structural. They have to be structural. They have to have a wind load. It's always been required. I think the other Board of Works actually, when we started doing that, they made sure they were structural. So they're very different than normal tents. These can take a wind of, 35 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, or
think
something
more.
like that. Supposedly.
Hmm.
Any other questions of Mr. Post?
I do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't want to jinx it, but what if we have a huge snow event? I mean, how does that play in realistically? I know, like I said, I don't want to jinx it, but it's a
No.
possibility.
That's the nature of an event like this. Obviously, should we get approval today, the first thing that I'm going to do tomorrow is contact all the department heads and see that this plowed before we start. But if on Thursday evening we have an insane snowstorm and these tents are covered and
They're also rated to hold snow as well.
Yeah, they are rated to
Yeah,
hold
just, yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
we're not worried about the safety of the tents in the snow or the high winds, but then getting anybody in there after the blizzard on Friday night isn't going to.
Yeah.
So we've gone out and salted all the roads, shoveled ourselves, brought in snow blowers, like we've removed the snow. Yeah, ourselves there. But that's not gonna happen though. It's gonna be 70 like it was the first year.
Miss Moore.
This isn't a question.
Go
So
ahead.
can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I have not done the 5K races, but I have been to this. And it is really an amazing thing that is put on by the city. I know that we've got to get all this sorted out. And it's been very cold, when I've been there, and it's snowed, and everybody has a great time anyway. And I think that it's a lot of work, especially by volunteers. And I'm happy that we're getting it all sorted out, and I think it's a good thing you do.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Post before I open it up for public comments? Everyone get their comments out. Haven't really gotten there yet, Mr. Simmons. I was going to open up for some comments and then maybe a further discussion, if that would be okay. Any other comments from Mr. Post? Okay, I'll open up for public comment.
Yeah, first of all, this is Tommy Kolovic from 1316 Ohio Street. Now, first thing I want to mention, this is where Bethany Baptist Bible Church is at. Reverend Albert Isbell's congregation. He's a pillar of this community. Do not close off the entrance to Bethany Bible Baptist Church for a week. Say, why not just ask to set your tents up on all the gray field site that the Redevelopment Commission owns? They don't care if that gets cleaned up. It's not going to look any more gaudy or ostentatious. It already does. I think by now that all Michigan City realizes that nothing's going to be going up there anytime soon. So they could probably have that for years to come. You know, it's just like the Queen's Fest. They finally did away with the Queen's Fest. Maybe they should not have this outdoors, but maybe, you know, they do have the option of renting out the Stardust Event Center at Blue Chip Casino for this. And I thought we're big Baker Tilly about the fees. They're only getting $100 a day. We're only going to get $700 out of this. I say this is a nonprofit, so they're not going to pay anything at all. I know in Chicago, they don't, what are they charging? I'm sure they get more than $700 for NASCAR to set up for the Chicagoland Grand Prix. I just think that this really ought to be another event that's kind of maybe phased out and done away with, or, you know, they have it indoors somewhere. Thank you.
Mayor.
Good afternoon. So, I'm in favor of the location. Let me step back though, about Franklin Street. I know I spoke to, Councilman Coulter, and we talked about comments that were made previously about wanting Franklin because they just want Franklin, and that I met with business owners about this, and I hadn't. So what did occur last year was after the event, you had a lot of business owners that came here angry, that vented and caught me out in the vestibule to vent about why they were upset. A couple of things that happened, and I go to the event every year, by the way. Not a beer drinker, but I like to see people down there, and I volunteered previously. But what they were upset about, and I noticed too, and this won't happen because it'll be moved, is that the streets were blocked still, and tents were up in the way of traffic on Monday. Also, the trash, we got an answer for the trash, which is a good thing. I love the roll off. That's good. But what happened is we're a two-way street now with double lines. If you put any tents on that road, it's a safety traffic hazard. There's no way to have tents on the road or any closure on Franklin Street with it being a two-way street. We just got that open. It's a benefit for the businesses. They, are again, have a lot of issues with the street being closed for extended periods of time. And it was well into Monday last year. So that was the issue that really was the crux of, hey, we need to move this somewhere else that's viable. We talked about Fetter's Alley. We talked about Washington Park, in the main area. We just were throwing out ideas because I didn't know they were going to have it, quite frankly, because nothing had came before the board. It came to the board. So everybody was asking about it. I said, well, I don't know. I mean, they may or may not. It just depends. So I think this location is good. The church entrance, I don't know if that's impacted at all. It,
There's actually, there's two entrances to that.
okay, so if they can get to their entrance, okay, I think that's fine. But it's a standing event. All the departments have dealt with shelf ice for the last however many years. I don't think that's an issue. It's, every year they do it. With the roll off, that alleviates a whole lot. That street is so wide, uh, that, the setup, I believe it should be blocked off though. I don't know if are we blocking it from the boulevard to the end, to Pine Street? My question is, do we need to actually block it that far the first day? Can we, what's the crossroad by, which street is that?
Cedar?
Cedar. Is there a way maybe for the first day, Wednesday, for Cedar to be closed at Cedar to Pine, and then for the event, then on Friday, kind of inch your way out? So I don't know if that's an option. Do we really need the full boulevard to Pine all of those days, or can we do Cedar and then, go to the boulevard? I don't know if that's something that can be done, but I think that's viable versus the whole thing the whole time. If tents are coming in each day, you really don't need all the way to the boulevard, because you still have the business park right there, and maybe Cedar is the place where you start at first, and then on Friday you do the full thing. So those are my only comments. I think that long as all the paperwork is in order, and they have a trash plan. The trash was the biggest thing.
Yeah, it was the
Myself
big-
and Councilman Don,
Yep.
and that might have been 2 years ago.
It was the biggest complaint, right?
Right. It
Yeah.
was always the trash in the church and all of that. So we just want to make sure also the location where the roll off is. We don't want it on the side closest to the church. We want it on the side closest to Pine. So, those things are important to make sure we have those. But I think, and I don't know if this is something that you could do, that you approve it pending you receive all the things that you need by a certain date, so that we make sure that, the site plan is completed, that where the trash is going to go, all those things. But I really don't see it being a traffic issue. I go that way because nobody goes that way. There really isn't any traffic that goes down those streets at all. That's why I made that recommendation to you, that that would probably be the widest, least used, in the whole city. So,
No one gets porta potties in front of their business. It's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
it makes
So that
sense.
that would be my thing. I think it would be fine. Monday by noon. And my last question is, where are the proceeds? Because this thing sells out every year. What are you going to donate money to, and what are we going to do? Because if we're going to do this as a benefit for the city, what are we going to do with some of that money? Because I believe that there should be some public benefit, piece of art, something that happens from it if we're going to participate as a partner. So that would be my only question. But other than that, I mean, I feel like this is a good event that we should move forward with it.
Any other public comment? Any other public comments?
Scott Mellon, 200 Kenwood Place. Sadly, I've not attended either but I'm fully in support of this. Um, Sometimes you can't have all the answers. This is a very lightly traveled street. Even if it was closed for a week, I think we could make do. The garbage was the big issue, and the street, Franklin being closed, I believe all the way until Sunday or Monday morning was the complaint of the business owners. So certainly for this year, I think we should just roll the dice, let it go. Let's let it happen. My question is, I know we don't want them on Franklin Street, but is the event so large it doesn't fit on the seventh, on our space that the Civic
Yeah.
Plaza area is just
Yeah.
too big for our green space in Seventh
It,
Street?
it probably used to 10 years ago, but now it's grown significantly.
No, that's a shame. It wouldn't fit there. But this is a great central location. The mayor is in support. I think the people are in support. I think you're in support. And sometimes we just can't have all the answers. Let's not let perfect get in the way of good enough. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? Mr. Councilman.
Yeah, the city councilman, Don Perbolinski. My comment is, not against shelf ice. I've been there a number of times myself, had a great time. Brings in a lot of people. What my concern is, and maybe we don't have a plan right now, but I think with many of the city events, the way we have to start thinking as far as blocking off streets, blocking off sidewalks, things of that nature, where we're going to have a large group of people concentrated is, and it was a very sad situation, but just like happened down in New Orleans on New Year's Eve, you
Yes.
get that many people in one spot. If you're going to block off a street, you better have concrete barricades there or those big orange
Yeah.
plastic
Water-filled,
barricades,
yeah.
water-filled barricades. You know, I'm just looking out for the public safety.
No, it is unfortunately a situation in our world, so that we live in nowadays. I agree.
Right.
I agree. Any other public comments? I'll close public comments. Any comments from the board? Let's have Justin come back up. Mayor asked a few questions. I want to get her questions answered. And Ms. Moore looks like she's got some questions too. Absolutely. Would you like to, Ms. Moore? Justin, a couple of questions that Mayor asked. I got a couple of comments too. Can you talk about what you do with the money from these events? What does Main Street do with it for public knowledge too?
Yeah, number of different initiatives that Main Street's done over the years, a lot, in fact. In the last year or so, it's been a lot less. We've been a lot less active. We have plans in the future to actually work with other groups in town to use these funds for, basically, we want to spend the money that we've gotten over the last few years for shelf ice. We have a number of grants. In the past, part of the Main Street process, or the Main Street plan, one of the pillars is design. So in the past, we've paid for putting flowers into the flower boxes there, the concrete boxes. We've distributed flower pots to individual businesses, upkeep of our normal association. I could get you a list of things that we've done over the years. Right now, it's not as much as you would think, actually. Everything goes up every year, from insurance to tent rentals to even the contractor that's selling the tickets for us and inviting the vendors.
Sure.
They're all going up. Yes, and like I said, in the future, we actually plan on doing more grants, providing more funds for especially the design part of the Uptown Arts District.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Ms. Moore, did you have any other comments? Ms. Santisto. Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say, I don't think anybody up here is against the Shelf Ice Brewfest. I need to make that very clear. Again, it is a huge event. It is immensely popular. I don't attend, I don't drink, I have a medical condition, I can't be in the cold, but it's beloved. I'm glad you guys have moved the location because I did meet with business owners last year and there were a lot of complaints that will be negated with this new site plan. I'm just really frustrated by the fact that it was only brought to us now when we've known and if Greg has attended your meetings, you've known there were issues, there was a possibility it would be moved. So I would can just say I personally, as a board member, would have appreciated a little bit more heads up. Maybe just loop us in the future when you have plans, because again, this keeps getting bigger and better every single year. We are gonna have to change them. We are gonna have to work together as a city to help make it happen for you guys
Mhm.
and for the city as well. So again, I just want to reiterate that we are not against, I know I personally at least, am not against the Shelf Brew Fest. It's beloved.
Ms. Smith, would you like to make a comment?
No, I concur with Candace. Definitely not against this event at all. I would ask though, if we could get a final site plan.
Oh,
And
yeah.
on the one you gave us today, which I know was tentative, was just something you had today. It looks like the beverage tents are on the side of the church. Am I reading that wrong?
That is on the church side, yes.
Yeah.
That if we could somehow have a plan where the alcohol.
Can they be
is there,
flipped?
like on the other side, I know that, like I said, I know this was your tentative kind of,
Yeah.
but if we could get a final
It's-
plan, I would definitely like to not see that.
So, and I'm just asking, so you don't want the alcohol close to the church?
I just, can it be on the other side of the, you have them here,
it-
can it just be?
Yeah, it may be able to, but if I'm moving stuff around, is the music okay over by the church? Food,
Music
is there
can be
like
heard
grease?
anywhere.
I just don't know what the
Music-
consideration is.
Oh, I got you, but music can be heard anywhere. The liquor can be
Okay,
easily moved.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, just across the street, just where your blue lines are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Just
I think a final site plan was definitely what we would need.
Yeah.
So if we do grant approval today, Justin, we really need to get a final site plan. I think that needs to go to Officer Jesse. I think it needs to go to our fire department for sure. Jeff Bruder, fire marshal, you know the rounds.
Yeah,
Mr. Warner, I think should take a look at that as well for the closure. Make sure Sean gets it. I make sure all the people get it. We've got some new people, new
Yeah.
faces now.
I think if you get it to Isabel,
Yeah,
obviously
that
she
would
can
be-
disseminate it to everyone. The other thing is how quickly could
Yeah.
we get this site plan?
I have a meeting scheduled for Thursday. Should we get approval, a meeting scheduled for Thursday, and we will work on it then. In the past, we'll spend hours on the site plan. Things can move up until the morning of the event. But we'll make sure it's nothing significant that would,
Yeah, I think if the fire marshal walks in and says you need 16 feet here and you have to move
Yeah.
something, that's his call,
yeah,
in
we
my
kind
opinion.
of, or Indian excise,
Yeah.
somebody says.
And then will you also on that site plan, I know you didn't put it on this, we just show us what being fenced in, just so we have an
Yes.
eye, so they know if they
So-
need to get
But
EMA.
my
and-
question wasn't answered.
I'm
When,
so sorry.
when can we get that site plan? And I think we need an
Yeah.
emergency plan as well with that.
How do I do that? That's all I need to know.
Well, I think your emergency plan just needs to show where your entrances and exits are so that people identify them.
On the layouts that we
Yes.
always have
Well,
done. Yeah.
I know Terry Greetham puts together emergency plans with contacts and there's a whole, if this happens and this happens, I'm sure he could share
Okay.
what should be in an emergency
that what I
plan
should
should be
be doing?
filed with the city as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Terry would probably share that with you of who his people are. Justin, you have a meeting Thursday.
Yes.
If approval is granted.
So that's what I meant as soon as
Yeah.
Friday morning.
That's what I was
could send
getting
it
at,
to you, but
Friday.
that wouldn't be the final layout yet, because then we have to go through this process of, oh, well, that's not gonna work because the beer's by the church, like that sort of thing. So yes, Friday morning, I can have a much more detailed layout for you, including entrances and exits for emergency vehicles.
Okay. Alrighty. I like this location. I like that no toilets are in front of people's place of business for days or a couple days. I like the dumpster. That's A plus.
Mhm.
I think it works. Yeah, those are some of my comments.
I'm sorry. I have a list of, I have 7 letters here, testimonials from other public businesses in Michigan City too. If I could, it doesn't, I just want to provide it for the record.
Sure, sure, of course. Will you tell us what the businesses are?
Sure. We have Fluid Coffee Roasters, the Bridge Inn, 4411 Inn and Suites, a local artist, Jesse Sexton, who works at the Lebesnick Center, Private Drive, Burnham Brewing, and Leeds. And I can anecdotally, I can say that I know that Fiddlehead and Shoreline do really well on that day. They enjoy as well.
Sure, absolutely. Any other questions of Mr. Post from this board? Mayor, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you come up here.
I forgot
Yeah,
one thing.
I'm sorry.
Can we find out from Pastor Isabel the times of his service? We probably should know that.
Hmm.
Just in case, so that at least there should be a notification to him, for their church service in case they want to do something different. Or, because, I don't know. I didn't, so probably should have that conversation with him. And he's cooperative. It's, he's gonna be fine, but we probably should at least do that and give a courtesy to him.
Yeah.
And talk to him as well. But what I do recommend for public, even if you get it beforehand, I think at your next Board of Works, even if you approve it today, that you make sure you have to finalize everything for the record. And that way, you have the site plan and everything. Even if you turn it in to them, they'll just submit it for public record so that everybody has it that way. And that gives still
Good with that.
time afterwards. But I don't know who makes the notification to Pastor Isabel.
Do you want to do that, Isabel? I don't want
Yeah,
to put
I
you
can-
on the spot.
I can find out his information and send him a letter.
Okay. I was gonna say I could call as well if or between Mayor and me, we could call. I could do that. Yeah, if you can get the information. Any other questions of Mr. Post? We've kept him up here quite a while. I had an in-depth discussion about this. You got another question? Okay, I was like, Mr. Simmons, come on. Any other comments from the board? All right. My final comment is that I think would a Thursday 8 a.m. to Monday 12 p.m. work?
Yes. And I can almost guarantee that we will have that open on Sunday for
Just
services.
I'm just in
Yeah.
case.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
That's my comment, or I think we should include in our motion that what motion do we want to make here? What's the motion? Help me with some words. I'll make the motion that we approve Shelf Ice Brew Fest for 2025 on February 22nd, contingent upon receiving a final site plan on Friday. That the event be held Thursday 8 a.m. to Monday at 12 p.m. is the road closure, and that you make sure that we notify all the boards or all the people that need to get notified.
Emergency plan.
And the emergency plan. I'm sorry.
You did say final site plan. which is
Finals,
what
a site,
Okay.
yeah, get us a site plan.
Can't guarantee.
No, I understand, but we're going to call it the site plan that we need. Yeah.
Can we also maybe just conditionally put it on our pending so that
I'm cool with
Mr.
that.
Post can come back as well in case we have any concerns or questions?
To be finalized at our next Board of Works meeting.
To be finalized at our next Board of Works meeting.
Fine with that.
So let me rephrase the motion. I'll remake the motion. If that's okay. I'll amend my motion. My motion is that we approve the Shelf Ice Brewfest for the 2025 season for February the 22nd, 2025, pending final approval at our next Board of Works meeting and the receipt of a site plan, an emergency management plan, notification of the church, and that the closure is Thursday, 8 a.m. to Monday at 12 p.m. and that everyone gets notified during that time frame. Is that an appropriate motion? Okay. That's my motion.
Support.
I'll call for the vote. Mr. Simmons,
Aye.
Ms. Tisdale, Ms. Smith,
Aye.
Ms. Moore,
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Justin, thank you for being here today and the presentation.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for all the public comments. Thank you. All right. On to our last, Mr. Jesse. Thank you for, I'm sorry you had to stand there the whole time. Well, it's okay. Yeah, you're not outside. It's okay. I feel bad. Okay, our next